Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, everyone.
everybody.
So I'm very happy to be back again with you on a Wednesday Bhagavad Gita class. Thank you, my Parashari Mataji, for managing our initial kirtan and all file sharing. Thank you so much. We've got a few devotees joined today. We have Meena Mataji, Shobha Aunty, Bapra Mataji, Manjunath Prabhu and family, Neil Prabhu, Hare Krishna Neil Prabhu, and Jai Krishna Prabhu is also here. Lucy is also here, Crystal, of course, my Parashari Mataji and Neena. So I welcome you all to our Bhagavad Gita class. We are at the last few shlokas of Bhagavad Gita. We are at the the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, and I'm happy to that we started this journey in 2018, mid 2018. I remember we had a program. We used to have a program in one of the school in the Newcastle initially, and then we used to meet in everybody's house before lockdown, and now we are online. And Krishna willing, at the end of this Bhagavad Gita session, we're going to have our own temple. So we are doing great in that way. This is the power of Bhagavad Gita. That once all come together, then Krishna showers his supreme mercy and blessings on all of us. So today we are going to Krishna's all instructions are over, and he's going to ask Arjuna, are you happy with this Bhagavad Gita? Have you understood everything properly? And then Arjuna says, yes, I understood everything. And he shares his realization. What is the feeling, at the end of Bhagavad Gita? And what is his realization? And then the remaining shlokas, this is the shloka by Sanjaya. Sanjay actually is narrating Bhagavad Gita to Dhritarashtra. And then Sanjaya says, what is the glory of Bhagavad Gita? When he hears Bhagavad Gita, what happens to that person? So we got very few shlokas left now. And I don't know, we have a Gita Jayanti the day Bhagavad Gita was spoken. It is approaching very soon. And we might just time our conclusion of Bhagavad Gita during that time. So we'll have a nice conclusion on Bhagavad Gita. So, Uncle, if you wish, you can start from Shloka 72.
Yeah. Hare Krishna, everybody. Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Hare Krishna.
Text 72. Kachidetam chutam partha tvayagragrena chetasa kachidajnana samhoha pranashtaste dhananjaya. Translation: O son of Partha, O conqueror of wealth, have you heard this with an attentive mind? And are your ignorance and illusion now dispelled? Purport: the Lord was acting as the spiritual master of Arjuna. Therefore, it was his duty to inquire from Arjuna whether he understood the whole Bhagavad Gita in his proper perspective. If not, the Lord was ready to re-explain any point or the whole Bhagavad Gita if so required. Actually, anyone who hears Bhagavad Gita from a bona fide spiritual master like Krishna or his representative will find that all his ignorance is dispelled. Bhagavad Gita is not an ordinary book written by a poet or a fiction writer. It is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Any person fortunate enough to hear these teachings from Krishna or from his bona fide spiritual representative is sure to become a liberated person and get out of the darkness of ignorance. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. Translation again. O son of Pritha, O conqueror of wealth, have you heard this with an attentive mind? And are your ignorance and illusion now dispelled? So Krishna, he is asking that, Arjun, have you heard this with an attentive mind? Whatever I have spoken so far, have you heard it with attentive mind? This is one of the primary qualification of a disciple or a student, that he sincerely hears from his guru or spiritual master. He shouldn't have any other distractions when he's hearing the instructions. It has got, you know, it is a very simple statement, but it goes very deep. When he says heard, doesn't mean just the actual act of hearing. It also means, have you applied this into your life? That is also hearing. It's like, um, say somebody, if you ask your son or a daughter, could you please give me a glass of water? And if he doesn't listen, then and the action is not performed of bringing a glass of water, then what did you say? Have you heard it or not? So unless that hearing turns into action, you actually have not heard it. So Krishna said, have you heard it with attentive mind or not? And then he says, are your ignorance and illusion now dispelled? Is your ignorance and illusion now dispelled? We'll come to now shortly what was Arjuna's condition in the beginning when the Bhagavad Gita started. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, the Lord was acting as the spiritual master of Arjuna. So in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, the relationship between Arjuna and Krishna was of a friend. The Arjuna and Krishna, they both are friend. And Arjuna tells gives so many reasons that Krishna, I should not fight this battle. And then he says, my Lord, my friend, dear Krishna, I'm now unable to fight. Now you please tell me for sure, what shall I do? And then at that time, Arjuna accepts Krishna as his spiritual master. And then the whole relationship changes. And as soon as Arjuna accepts Krishna as spiritual master, the first thing Krishna does is chastises Krishna. So far, while he was a friend, he was not chastising, because friend, of course, friends, the real friend always tells the truth. But when it turns to the spiritual master, he is actually the most greatest well-wisher of a living entity, because spiritual master is a representative of Krishna. Krishna is our supreme friend and the well-wisher, Suridam Sarva Bhutanam. And Guru, or the spiritual master, is representative of Krishna. So Guru, he will do everything for a disciple to get the ultimate success of going back to Godhead. So as soon as Arjuna accepted Krishna as a spiritual master, the first thing Krishna does is he chastises him. He said, Arjuna, you are lamenting for what is not worth lamenting. You are talking like a big Pandit, big scholar, but actually you are a fool number one. This is what the spiritual master does. First, spiritual master diminishes, destroys all the ego, all the misconceptions that we have. There is a famous story that there's one student, two students goes to a spiritual master, for a music lesson. And the first student says, that teacher asks, how much do you know about music? He said, no, I know all the tunes, I know all the different meters and modes and everything. And I'm quite, I know music. Just, you can please give me some advanced knowledge. And the student asks, so teacher says, it will take, for 1 year to teach you the exact music. And the second student, teacher asks, how much do you know? He said, I don't know anything. Oh, very good. It'll just take you 6 months to learn. So the first student says, why for me? I already know so many things about it. Why you will take 1 year? So teacher says, so first 6 months will go in just unlearning you, what you have, bad habits that you have. So this is the first duty of spiritual master. Whatever, misconceptions that we have, the bad habits that we have, teacher destroys that. So immediately, Krishna, he tells Arjuna that you are acting like you're speaking like a big Pandit, big scholarly person, but actually you're a fool number one. Because Arjuna gave so many arguments. Oh, not for the good family traditions, the forefathers will be in trouble. There'll be chaos in the society. What is the reason of all this wealth, when we have no family members left? So many arguments he gives. So apparently he was talking like a big scholar. Krishna says, you're a fool number one. You think you're a scholar, you're a pandit, but you're a fool number one. But when teacher or a spiritual master, when he chastises for the good intention. That is disciple, actually when a guru accepts a disciple, the guru takes the highest responsibility for that disciple to take home back to Godhead. Accepting a disciple or a spiritual master, we are just talking about in a bhakti tradition, when in the proper Guru Shishya Parampara, when you accept a guru, to understand Krishna and the science of Krishna consciousness, that guru and the student relationship is a very serious relationship. It is said that more than guru, it is the more than student or disciple, it is the guru who takes the highest responsibility. Externally, we see that guru says, okay, student, you do this, do this, do this. You don't do this, you don't do this, don't do this. Looks like spiritual master is he is controlling the child, controlling the disciple. But actually, the responsibility is more on the guru. So in the Shastra, it is explained that when somebody accepts a disciple, the guru's responsibility that he should go, his responsibility to take him back home, back to Godhead. And it is said that unless that student goes back home, back to Godhead, the guru cannot go back home, back to Godhead. Do you all understand the severity of this relationship? Guru takes that responsibility. So even guru cannot go back home, back to Godhead till his disciple, he's reached the ultimate success. So here Prabhupada says the Lord was acting as a spiritual master of Arjuna. Therefore, it was his duty to inquire from Arjuna whether he understood the whole Bhagavad Gita in his proper perspective. If not, the Lord was ready to re-explain any point or the whole Bhagavad Gita if so required. So Prabhupada says, why Krishna is asking this question to Arjuna? Because it is Guru's responsibility to explain the science of spiritual realization or science of spirituality in detail, in a way that a student understands. And if student is not understood, then teacher should explain it again. Again, maybe a little change, but in a way that student can understand. So what does it mean? It means that many times it is not expected the student will learn at the first explanation of spiritual master. And if this is the case, then students should be honest. Yes, Gurudev, yes, spiritual master, I have not understood it. Or maybe this I did not understood. Can you please explain it to me again? Oh, these are my doubts. So in a relationship between guru and a disciple, or a student and a spiritual master, the question answer is natural. Actually, is a part of relationship. If it's throughout the Bhagavad Gita, you may have observed at many places, Krishna says particular things to Arjuna, and Arjuna rejects, says, sorry, Krishna, I cannot do this. For instance, Krishna talks about, the Dhyana Yoga or the Ashtanga Yoga, about, sitting in a lotus position and, fixing the vision on the tip of the nose and going to the secluded place. And Arjuna rejected it. He says, sorry, Krishna, I cannot do this. You are explaining me to do this, but this is more difficult than, controlling the wind. You're asking me to control my mind. But mind is so flickering that it is more difficult than controlling a raging wind. Then Krishna says, okay, I understand. What you're saying is right. But you have to practice by abhyasena. By practice, you have to control your mind. And then Krishna goes on to the next level. Then finally, in the 9th chapter, he talks in detail about the Bhakti Yoga, the most confidential knowledge. So here is a very loving spiritual master. Krishna is asking Arjuna, have you understood it? If not, I'll explain you again. So this is the responsibility of a spiritual master. He's actually, the love of a spiritual master, when somebody is really, understood the felt, the concern that spiritual master has for his student, one will realize that actually the love that spiritual master or guru has for a disciple is far, far, far greater than we can feel any love in this world. It is even more, greater than the love of a parent or a child or any other love. Because the mother or a father or a child, they'll look after your body. They'll look after you. They're a well-wisher for you just one birth. But the guru, he takes the responsibility for a disciple. That if not this birth, next birth. If not that birth, but the next birth. But once you accept a guru, it is a guru's responsibility that he will take you back home, back to Godhead. Till that disciple reaches Krishna Golok Vrindavan, the guru, he himself won't go there. In fact, he'll follow that disciple and make sure that he reaches the ultimate success. And then Prabhupada mentions, actually, one who hears Bhagavad Gita from a bona fide spiritual master like Krishna or his representative will find that all his ignorance is dispelled. So Prabhupada makes it quite clear that Bhagavad Gita has to be understood from a bona fide spiritual master. What is bona fide spiritual master? Bona fide spiritual master is a spiritual master who his first qualification, he comes in the parampara. There are 4 disciplic succession. We mentioned it earlier. The first succession comes from Lord Brahma, second comes from Lakshmi Devi, third from Lord Shiva, and fourth from 4 Kumaras. So they are the actual guru. The first Krishna gave this knowledge to these 4 authorities, and these authorities, they had their own disciplic succession. For example, Brahma, he had his disciple Narad Muni, and Narad Muni has Vyasdev, and Vyasdev has Madhvacharya, and so forth and so forth. So in ISKCON, in Hare Krishna movement, we come from the Brahma Madhava Sampradaya, so starting from Lord Brahma. So bona fide spiritual master, his first qualification is that he should be coming in either of these 4 sampradayas, either from Lord Brahma, Lakshmi ji, Shiv ji, or 4 Kumaras. That is his first qualification. If he is not from that sampradaya, or from the disciplic succession, he cannot be considered bona fide. Just like, I know many of us are, from medical background. Unless you get your degree from a authorized bona fide university, no matter how qualified you are in medical science, nobody will recognize you. Nobody will even take you very close to any patient. So for a bona fide spiritual master, first he has to come from this 4 disciplic succession, and then he has to practice what he has heard and repeat it. Just like in medical profession, once you get your degree, you are in proper, disciplic succession. Then you practice your medicine as you have learned. You can't, change the medical science as per your whims. You just treat the patient as you have learned. So similarly, a bona fide spiritual master, he hears from his guru, he digests that knowledge, and he repeats that knowledge to his disciple. Then he becomes a bona fide spiritual master. So a student, when he repeats what he has heard from his guru, then he becomes himself a guru. And then he gives that knowledge to his student. And that student, when he repeats that same knowledge, after digesting it properly, realizing it properly, when he passes to the next generation, then he becomes a guru. And this is how the whole disciplic succession or the disciplic chain, comes into existence. So here Prabhupada is saying that anybody who has heard from this bona fide spiritual master the message of Bhagavad Gita, then all his illusions and doubts are destroyed. I'll repeat it again. Actually, anyone who hears Bhagavad Gita from a bona fide spiritual master like Krishna or his representative will find that all his ignorance is dispelled. So all your doubt is destroyed, is dispelled. We'll see in the next sloka what Arjuna is saying, how he's feeling. And then Prabhupada, he says, why it is that, Bhagavad Gita is so special, because Bhagavad Gita is not a production by a fiction writer or by some novelist. It is a science, or it is the message coming directly from the God. And when one repeats that message as it is to his disciples, then he has the same effect. Like here, Arjuna, he heard this message from Krishna personally, directly. When somebody else, repeats the same message to another person in the disciplic succession, he will have the same realization what Arjuna has. So Prabhupada writes here, Bhagavad Gita is not an ordinary book written by a poet or a fiction writer. It is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Any person fortunate enough to hear these teachings from Krishna or from his bona fide spiritual representative is sure to become a liberated person and get out of the darkness of ignorance. So anybody who hears this message from a bona fide guru, then his liberation, first of all the doubts will be gone. And then his liberation, or going back to Godhead is guaranteed. But he has to hear. First of all, he has to hear Shravanam. First, he has to hear and then apply that into his life. And now, in next shloka, Arjuna Uvacha, Arjuna is saying what in response to Krishna's question. What is Arjuna's position? Okay, now before we do that, we'll just take a little step back and we'll see what was Arjuna's condition before he heard Bhagavad Gita from Krishna. Okay, so Mataji, if you can allow me to share this screen. Thank you, Mataji. Got it. So many windows open. Which one is mine? Yes, this is the. Okay, so this is the chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita. Now, Krishna and Arjuna, they both are on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. The war is just about to begin now. And Arjuna, he is now in doubt. He doesn't know whether to fight or not to fight, because in the opposite army, all are his friends and relatives, his teacher, and all are his loving relatives are at the opposite side. And he becomes completely broken down person. So what does he says? Anybody like to read the shloka from 28 to 31?
I can, if nobody else would like to.
Yes, Mataji, please go ahead, Crystal. Please go ahead.
Text 28. Arjuna said, "My dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up." 29. My whole body is trembling. My hair is standing on end. My bow Gandiva is slipping from my hand and my skin is burning. I am now unable to stand here any longer. I'm forgetting myself and my mind is reeling. I see only causes of misfortune. O Krishna, killer of Kasi demon, I do not see how any good can come from my killing my old kinsman in the battle, nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness.
Yes, Mother, we'll stop there. And now, Krishna, if you can also read this another shloka, which is
From number 6?
6 to 8, 6, 7, and 8.
Yes.
3.
Nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. If we killed the sons of Dhritarashtra,
Dhritarashtra, yeah.
thank you, we should not care to live, yet they are now standing before us in the battlefield. Now I am confused about my duty, and I have lost all composure because of miserly weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. I can find no means to drive away this grief which is drying up my senses. I will not be able to dispel it, even if I win a prosperous, unrivaled kingdom on earth with sovereignty like demigods in heaven.
Thank you very much, Krishna. That's so kind of you. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So dear friends, here in this, this section of Bhagavad Gita, we see what kind of, condition Arjuna is. So here he says, my whole body is trembling, my hair is standing on end, and my bow Gandiva is slipping from my hand, and my skin is burning. Now Arjuna, he was a great fighter, a very, heroic person. And for him to be in this situation, and he was a very scholarly person, very, successful person. But here we see he's completely broken. He is into shreds. He doesn't know what to do. And then he says, Krishna, I don't know whether to fight or not. I don't know what is right, what is wrong. Please instruct me. So I just, if you remember, this is this slide. Probably you remember in our very initial days of our Bhagavad Gita. I've just done a little breakdown of these 3 shlokas. Let me just share that again with you. Where is it? Okay, so this is the condition of, or you can say medical report or the psychological report of Arjuna. He is depressed, he is confused, his limbs are quivering, his mouth drying, his body trembling, hair standing, his Gandiva boy is sleeping, his weapon, he's not able to hold his professional weapon. He says, I don't know how to use my weapon or my tool. His skin is burning, he's unable to stand, he's so much shivering, he can't even stand on his 2 feet. Forgetting oneself, he doesn't know what to do, what not to do. His mind is reeling. His mind is completely, not at right place. And he sees the vision of misfortune. He sees everything negative. And he says, if I fight, what I say is just a destruction. I do not see anything positive that can come out from fighting. So this was the condition of Arjuna just before Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita. So this is, just like a, sometimes, we like to see before and after, like, if you take some medicine, then he says, this was, I was before, now I'm after. Like nowadays, people go to gym, before I was so skinny, so slim, after gym, I become so strong. So this was Arjuna before. And now at the end of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is asking Arjuna, have you heard it? Is everything clear now? No, do you want me to repeat it again? Please tell me, how do you feel? And that's now the shloka comes now, 73. So somebody, he or she can read this translation and purport now.
Can I do that, Maharaji, please?
Okay, we have got 2 volunteers. So I think it's got a long purport, so you can take turn now.
Okay.
Yeah. So Minamata, you can do translation and first paragraph.
Okay.
And then Mataji can do the rest of the 2 paragraphs.
Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare
Arjun
Krishna.
Uvacha. Nashto moha smriti labda tvata prasadan manyachutta sito asmi kata sande karishe vachanam tava. Translation. Arjuna said, My dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy. I am now firm and free from doubt and am prepared to act according to your instruction. The constitutional purport, the constitutional position of a living entity represented by Arjuna is that he has to act according to the order of the Supreme Lord. He is meant for self-discipline. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ji says that the actual position of the living entity is that of eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. Forgetting this principle, the living entity becomes conditioned by material nature. But in serving the Supreme Lord, he becomes the liberated servant of the God. The living entity's constitutional position is to be a servitor. He has to serve either the illusory Maya or the Supreme Lord. If he serves the Supreme Lord, he is in a normal condition. But if he prefers to serve the illusory external energy, then certainly he will be in a bondage. In illusion, the living entity is serving in this material world. He is bound by his lust and desires, yet he thinks of himself as the master of the world. And this is called as an illusion. When a person is liberated, his illusion is over and he voluntarily surrenders unto the Supreme to act to his desires. The last illusion, the last name of Maya to trap the living entity is the proposition that he is God. The living entity thinks that he is no longer a conditional soul, but God. He is so unintelligent that he does not think that if he were God, then how could he be in a doubt? Then he does not consider. So that is the last snare of illusion. Actually, to become free from the illusory energy is to understand Krishna, the Supreme Personality of the Godhead, and agree to act according to his order. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Mataji. Thank you. Thank you. So Shubhanti will speak now, and then you can read after some time. We'll cover these 2 paragraphs, then you can read. So in this Sloka 73, now Arjuna is saying, in response to Krishna's asked question, is saying, Arjuna said, My dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy. I am now firm and free from doubt and am prepared to act according to your instructions. The last line, no, prepared to act according to your instructions. Karishe vachanam tava. This is written in Sanskrit. Karishe vachanam tava. So now let's take one word after the other. So Arjuna is saying, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. Now Prabhupada talks about illusion in quite detail in the purport. So what is the illusion that Arjuna had? Arjuna's illusion was that he is a great warrior. These are my relatives, and if I kill them, it is not. And he is giving so many reasons why he should not fight. If I kill them, there'll be a lot of women. There'll be no protection, no ability to protect the women. The whole future progeny will be corrupted. The society will break down, and the forefathers will have problem. And so many reasons he gives. But all his reasons was based on keeping him in the center. And in Bhagavad Gita, the first and primary and the foundational understanding is that we are not this body. We are a spirit soul. This is the fact. And when we forget this, and when we identify as ourselves as this body, that is the illusion. And when we misidentify ourselves with the body, then all the problem starts. It's like, when we are flying in the aeroplane, it flies in a straight line. But if he goes even 1 degree, on in a straight line, he goes on to a completely different destination. Why? Because he did not follow his straight line. So foundation, who we are, unless we understand who we are, we will not be able to understand and rectify any problem that we are facing in this world, because you are misidentifying yourself. I'm from IT background, and in IT we have to analyze the problem. First we have to, and I'm sure in the medical and in every profession, first you have to understand what exactly is the problem, diagnosis, where exactly the problem is residing. Even in mechanics, in car and all, if car is making noise, then you have to see where exactly that noise, where is the root of this noise. You just put these windows on, or put some cloth on. That is not the solution. You have to go exactly where this problem is on. In medical, if you are having coughing or something happening, what is the root of this symptom? So similarly, in our life, if we are having the problem, we have to find out where is the root of this problem. The root of all our problem, I repeat, the root of all our problem is misidentifying ourselves as that I am this body. And when we say I am this body, and then all the other miscalculation starts, and it becomes I am this body, I am the enjoyer, I am the controller, I am the master. Then all the problem starts. And then because you misidentified the problem, all your solution are also wrong. Because if your diagnosis is wrong, your treatment is also wrong. So Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, immediately, once Krishna Arjuna says, please instruct me, what shall I do? So his first instruction is Dehosmin yatha dehe komaram yovanam jara tatha dehantara prapti dhirastatra namoyati. That Arjuna, you are not this body. As a spirit soul passes from boyhood, from childhood to boyhood to young age, similarly, when the body is no longer useful, the living entity, the soul, passes to the next body. So Prabhupada, if you see in the Bhagavad Gita, practically in every page of Bhagavad Gita, he's repeating these same instructions again and again. We are not this body, we are a spirit soul. And it also gives them more information. And we are part and parcel of the Supreme, or Krishna. This is the root cause of all our problems. So earlier, Arjuna was having all these illusions and doubts because he was thinking, I am the controller. I am the doer. I will get the glory or I will get defeated. He was putting himself in the center. I am this body, and in relation to my body, all these things are happening. So that was his illusion, that I am this body. So now Arjuna, he's saying in this line, he's saying, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. And what is that illusion? That I'm not this body, I'm a spirit soul. So his misidentification is gone. Then he's saying, I have regained my memory by your mercy. And now what is this memory? Did he forget his name, or did he had amnesia or something? No. He regained his memory. What is his memory? That I'm not this body, I'm a spirit soul. Where is the spirit soul? The spirit soul is part and parcel of Krishna. And I belong to spiritual world. So he's regained his memory, who exactly he is. And then he says, I am now firm and free from doubt. Is firm and free from doubt. This is where, when you get the knowledge of who we are, and when we have understood, why are we in this world? What are the things around me? Why are certain things behaving in certain way? What is the controlling energy around us? These are all topics of Bhagavad Gita. So in Bhagavad Gita, there are 5 major topics. First topic is, who am I? Second topic is, who is the supreme? Who is the controller, or who is the God? The third is, what is this phenomenal world that I'm experiencing, I'm living? This earth, the water, what is this phenomenal prakriti? What are the things around me? The third is, I'm here, somebody is controlling this place, and I can see this whole platform of phenomenal world around me. What am I supposed to do here? What are the activities I'm supposed to do here? What action shall I be taking? So there is action, or the karma. And the fifth topic is time. How the time, is under the time framework of time, everything is getting, everything is being performed within this framework of time. So these 5 major topics: who am I? Who is God? What is this phenomenal world? What am I supposed to do here? And what is the time? These are the 5 major topics of Bhagavad Gita.
Very good.
When you understand these 5 topics, then you are completely in knowledge.
Yeah,
And when you have this knowledge, all your doubts goes away.
very clear.
It's like, when you go into a room which is full of darkness, and you don't know where the wall is, or where the halls are, or where the stairs are, you'll keep banging your head everywhere, because you don't know how things are. But as soon as you switch on the light, everything is clear. You don't know where to put your foot in, where to duck, how this way to go. This world, it is like, it is a very dangerous place. Krishna, he explains in Bhagavad Gita, this world has 2 words, dukkhalayam ashashvatam. This world is full of misery and everything is temporary. Whatever it is conditioned now, it was not there before, and it is not going to continue tomorrow also, or day after tomorrow. Everything is changing, everything is temporary. So world is full of misery and is temporary. Now in this world, if you have to live very peacefully, or if you have to get out of this world, and if you don't know who you are, who is controlling this world and what you are supposed to do, then you will be in completely miserable condition. But Bhagavad Gita, it is that light, a torch. As soon as you apply Bhagavad Gita in your life, everything is crystal clear. HD 480p, or 4K or 5K, completely, you can enlarge everything, you can see things as they are. And then you get this, once you have the knowledge, then we take the right decision in our life. We gave sometimes, there is example, say, if I go from my house outside and I was told I have to go to London. Okay, but I don't know if where are the roads lead to. But if I have the map in my hand, the map tells you, okay, you take left turn, then this road will come, then you follow this road and this road and this road, then you will reach London. But if you have no idea whatsoever, whether to go left or right, or this road or that, or you don't know where even the London is, how will you travel? My dear friend, this is the condition of all of us here and everybody in this world. Nobody knows why are they here. Nobody knows where they have to go. This world is, like says, ignorance is bliss. Everybody is enjoying their ignorance. Eat, sleep, and be merry. Don't worry, be happy. One day everybody have to die. Just enjoy your life. Ignorance is bliss. But Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says, my dear child, don't live life like that. Live a life of complete knowledge, not a life of ignorance. So Bhagavad Gita teaches us, who am I? Who is God? What is my relationship with God? why am I here? Why am I suffering? Why people are suffering? What causes me suffering? How do I stop this suffering? How do I get out of this suffering condition? And what is my ultimate goal? And how do I actually, in actually real sense, how can I help the people around me? These are the topics of Bhagavad Gita. And when you take the shelter of Bhagavad Gita, then we actually, when we apply the principles of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, then actually our life becomes a purposeful life, a life, you can say, worth living, or life with some meaning. Otherwise, there's a famous, song of, I don't know the band, Another Brick in the Wall. We, when we die, somewhere it be written, born certain date, died certain date. And our record is there somewhere in the council's birth record, date record. And nobody cares, when we came and when we went out. But when you live the life according to Bhagavad Gita's teachings, then this life is worth living. And we know exactly how am I supposed to live. How can I actually make a difference in my life, the life of my, loved ones, and life of all the people around me. Not even humans, the trees, the insects, the animals, everyone. Because we see everything is connected ultimately to Krishna. Everybody is a living entity, even the trees, plants, cows, chickens, pigs, sheep, everything, it is connected to Krishna. So how can I live in harmony with the environment, with the Supreme? And then we live a life of, a meaningful life. So this is what Arjuna is saying, that now I am now from and free from doubt, and prepared to act according to your instructions. Now, this is the most important part, my dear friend. Arjuna says, I'm prepared to act according to your instructions. Prabhupada, in the purport, he mentions about the last snare of Maya. That here we are all, Krishna has two energies, his internal energy and his external energy. Under his external energy, which is called Maya, under that illusion, under Maya or illusion, we think I am this body, I am a spirit soul. But when that illusion is dispelled, when we read Bhagavad Gita and apply Bhagavad Gita in our life, then we work under the internal energy of Krishna, and then we live in the life of complete knowledge and bliss. But before we reach that stage, the liberation stage of living under Krishna's internal energy, there is a last snare of Maya. And what is that last snare of Maya, or the external energy? Is that Maya, when we have applied Bhagavad Gita, when we are completely, enlightened, and we know who we are, where exactly we have to go, and we have complete knowledge of how to live our life, then external energy, the Maya, she kind of does the last, because Maya's business is to keep you in this world. She says, this person is going away from my control. How do I keep him in this world? Again, Maya, she is the devotee of Krishna. Her job is to keep all the conditioned souls here, and anybody who wants to go out, she tests them whether they are qualified enough to go out of this world and go back to Godhead. So she is not a villain, or she is not a cruel person. It is her job to keep the law and order into material world. So her job is to keep the conditioned souls here, those who want to live here, and those who want to go get out, she tests them. Are they qualified enough to go out? So when someone, has applied Bhagavad Gita in their life, and they are completely, kind of almost purified, the Maya, she does her last test, or you can say it's last offer. The Maya, he tells that person, oh, you are such a great person. You are such a, these scriptures very nicely, and you are, you understood very nicely. You are a god. You are really a great person. You are a god. And if that person has actually not understood Bhagavad Gita properly, or if he has, even a little small contamination in their heart of enjoyment, then that living God will say, "Oh Maya, thank you so much. Actually, I am God. I can see I have so much power. I can understand, because knowledge is power. When under everything you know about with your spiritual life, you feel very powerful." And then Maya says, "Oh, my dear friend, you're a god. I'm your servant." Maya says, "I'm your servant. You are God. I'll serve you. You stay here. Don't go anywhere." But Prabhupada explains here, this is the last snare of Maya. And if we fail that, then you can't get out of this world. You'll have to again go to some purificatory process. It's like when you do a car driving test. You have done everything right, but the last time one major mistake. Then even though you've done everything right, but one major mistake, and then you have gone. You can't fail. Then you have to again take few lessons and again apply for another exam. Similarly, this is the last snare of Maya. Maya will say, "You are God. You are so powerful. You are as good as God. You're not as good as you are God." And if you are not careful enough, we'll start believing that yes, I am God. Now, when I first heard it, I thought, actually, I will never think like that I am God. It is not possible. I've read in Bhagavad Gita, when I become fully purified, I will know I am not God. My dear friend, never ever overestimate or underestimate the power of Maya. When that respect and recognition from the society comes, we have seen in the past, in the history, a person gets a little fame or some power or some money in their life, they completely get intoxicated with that. Right now, no, we are very insignificant people. We are living in our small house, hardly anybody knows us. And we say, actually, we know I'm not God. But when this adoration or the fame or money or some power or some qualifications or some degrees come, and and then people give you award, or they recognize you, then this we start flying high in our illusion. Oh, actually, I'm very great. I am God. No need to give names, but I'm sure you must have heard many examples in our life. People have completely destroyed their life, thinking they are better than God. In nowadays, our scientists, they do all this, experiments and all, space and medical and all, and then they are very, we are challenging God, or we are playing with the God, and they think they are, they've conquered everything, but as here, it is said, it is the last snare of Maya, that we think we are God, but if we are trapped into that one, Maya will keep you happy for some time, and then she will slap you so hard that you'll forget that you are God. For example, our scientists, we have big hospitals and laboratories and everything, and suddenly this virus comes and nobody knows how to they're challenging the God. We have these so many advancement in medical science, and now this coronavirus, now this new strain has come. Earlier it was another strain, now this new strain, and everybody is confused. So these are all the the different techniques of Maya. Anyway, I think I'm going off track. So I think I covered most of the point from these 2 points. Mother, you can do last 2 paragraph, Shubhanti.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Hare Krishna, everybody. I will read the sloka again. I love this sloka. Yeah, thank you. Arjuna uvacha nashto moha smritirlabdha svaprasadat maya achyuta stitosmi gata sandeha karishye vachanam tava. The word moha is very important in this verse. Moha refers to that which is opposed to knowledge. Actually, real knowledge is the understanding that every living being is externally a servitor of the Lord. But instead of thinking oneself in that position, the living entity thinks that he is not a servant, that he is the master of this material world. For he wants to lord it over the material nature. That is his illusion. This illusion can be overcome by the mercy of the Lord or by the mercy of a pure devotee. When that illusion is over, one agrees to act in Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is acting according to the Krishna's order. A conditioned soul, illusioned by the external energy of matter, doesn't know that the Supreme Lord is the Master who is full of knowledge and who is the proprietor of everything. Whatever he desires, he can bestow upon his devotees. He is the friend of everyone, and he is especially inclined to his devotee. He is the controller of this material nature and all living entities. He is also the controller of the inexhaustible time, and he is full of opulences and all potencies. The Supreme Personality of the Godhead can even give himself to the devotee. One who does not know him is under the spell of illusion. He does not become a devotee, but a servitor of Maya. Arjuna, however, after hearing Bhagavad Gita from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, become free from all illusion. He could understand that Krishna was not only his friend, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he understands Krishna factually. So, to study Bhagavad Gita is to understand Krishna factually. When a person is in full knowledge, he naturally surrenders to Krishna. When Arjuna understood that it was Krishna's plan to reduce the unnecessary increase of population, he agreed to fight according to Krishna's desire. He again took up his weapons, his arrows and bow, to fight under the order of the Supreme Personality of the Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for giving that.
So this last 2 paragraph, Prabhupada actually dedicated to this last sentence of Arjuna, Karishye Vachanam Tava. Or Arjuna said, I am prepared to act according to your instructions. Now, this is the actual, kind of passing realization of anyone who has actually understood the Bhagavad Gita properly. That Arjuna is saying, Karishye Vachanam Tava. I'll act according to your desire. Now, Prabhupada earlier mentioned the last snare of Maya is that he will try to convince the living entity that actually you are God. But person who, when Maya proposes that, that offer, the living entity says, no, actually I am not God, but I am rather the servant of the God. And as a servant of the God, I am supposed to, my duty is to follow the order of Krishna. So Arjuna, he passed that test. He did not say, now after saying, he could have said, my illusion is now gone. I've regained my memory by your mercy. I'm now firm and free from doubt. So I'm feeling very strong now. So Krishna, now I am God. He did not say that. He said, I'm feeling very strong, very nice, I'm completely, at my right consciousness. Now I surrender myself to you. When he says, Karishe Vachanantama, I act according to your desire means I'm subordinate to you. Krishna, you are my master. Unless that the last realization comes, we have not actually understood the Bhagavad Gita for the way it's supposed to be understood. So Prabhupada in the purport, he mentions, I'll just read some of the lines here. Actual real knowledge is the understanding that every living being is eternally servant of the Lord. But instead of thinking oneself in that position, the living entity thinks that he is not a servant, that he is the master of this material world, for he wants to lord it over material nature. That is his illusion. This illusion can be overcome by the mercy of the Lord or by the mercy of the pure devotees. So that what is that illusion? As we discussed earlier, that I am the enjoyer, I am the master. When that illusion is broken, then we understand factually what exactly I am. I am the part and parcel of Krishna. I am the servant of Krishna. So when that illusion is broken, we understand, our constitutional position as being the servant of Krishna. And then Prabhupada writes in the second paragraph, Krishna consciousness is acting according to Krishna's order. A conditional soul illusioned by the external energy of matter does not know that the Supreme Lord is the master who is full of knowledge and who is the proprietor of everything. Whatever he desires, he can bestow upon his devotees. He is the friend of everyone and is especially inclined to his devotees. He is the controller of the material nature and of all living entities. He is also the controller of the inexhaustible time. He is full of all opulences and all potencies. The Supreme Personality of Godhead can even give himself to the devotee. One who does not know him is under the spell of illusion. He does not become a devotee, but a servitor of Maya. So the person who has actually understood the Bhagavad Gita, where it is meant to be, then he accepts the complete supremacy of Krishna, that he is this supreme and the ultimate authority, the ultimate controller of everything. And when he is a controller, generally in our day-to-day experience, we think somebody who is powerful controller, naturally they put this extra adjective called exploitator. Generally we say somebody is very powerful, very strong. We think he must be exploiting everything. But no, that does not apply to Krishna. Here Prabhupada mentions, he is the friend of everyone and is specially inclined to his devotees. So Suridam Sarva Bhutana, that Krishna is actually the well-wisher of everyone. And in the next Prabhupada writes, that he himself gives, whenever he desires, he can bestow upon his devotee, his friend of everyone, and he is especially inclined to his devotees. He is controller of his material nature and of all living entities. He is also the controller of inexhaustible time, and he is full of all opulence and excellencies. The Supreme Personality of Godhead can even give himself to the devotee. That is such a loving friend and our well-wisher, that he himself gives up to his own devotee. We see in Bhagavad Gita, that famous picture that Krishna, he's serving Arjuna as the charioteer, which is a very low job. But to his devotees very much inclined. He loves his devotees. So he gives himself to his own devotees. So Krishna is very merciful and he's not an exploitator. Rather, he gives himself to the person. So I think I stop here. If anybody has any questions or comment, you can raise it now. I hope this last two slokas was not very hard to digest. I tried my best to make it as simple as possible, but this is the actual conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, how Arjuna understood Bhagavad Gita. The actual Bhagavad Gita to be understood is Karishe Vachanam Tava. Krishna, I will do as you like, according to your desire. Anybody any questions or comments or realization or disagreement? Oh, yes, Lucy, you raised your hand. Please go ahead.
Hello, Hare Krishna. I'm a bit new here, so forgive me if this has been covered already. But what I would like to know, when you talk about the spirit soul and the body, you kind of not being your body, do you mean the mind as well? Is the body and mind kind of together, but they're separate from the spirit soul? Does that make sense?
Yes. So, wow, beautiful question, Lucy. Beautiful questions. It shows, you are thinking about, what we are discussing here. Yes, earlier when Krishna, when he speaks about the body and the spirit soul, he also explains what this body is made up of. So body, he basically describes the body is made up of two major sections, gross body and subtle body. So the gross body are made up of five elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether, or we call it space, in modern terms. So this body, our like body that we have, it has got some, earth, some solid stuff, water, or fire. I think fire, we are hot. If you are cold, we are cold dead. So our body is a fire, and then our food also gets digested by fire. So we have fire. And we have air also. Without air, we cannot live. Our bodies requires air,
water, fire, earth,
and the space. The body is also requires space also. So with these five elements, the whole body is the gross body is made up of. Then there is also a subtle body, which is more subtler than the gross elements. So this subtle body is made up of three elements: mind, intelligence, and false ego. So, and then the soul resides within this body. The soul is separate from the body, but the body itself, it's made up of two separate sections: gross body and subtle body. So, answer to your question, yes, mind is separate from the soul.
Okay, great. That's brilliant. Thank you. That's really great.
Does it make sense, Lucy?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a great explanation. Thank you so much.
So as we the five elements of gross body, they go more subtler. So we have earth. Earth is more solid. And subtler than that is the water. Then subtler than water comes the air, then the fire, or other way around, fire and the air, then the space. The space is the most subtlest, but more subtler than the space is the mind, and more subtle than the mind is the intelligence, and more subtler than the intelligence is the false ego. Now you might ask the questions, why it's called false ego? Ego in Latin understanding or Latin translation is, ego means identification. So the false ego means the wrong identification. So what is the wrong identification that we discussed today? When living entity, the soul, misidentifies himself or herself as the enjoyer or this body, then that becomes the false identification. So the living entity or the soul, first it is covered by this very subtle covering of false ego. So living entity itself is the servant of God. But when it comes to this material world, that first illusion of false ego surrounds him or her, that I am the enjoyer. That's the false ego, the false identification. And then it is covered by the second layer, which is called the intelligence, and then the mind. So then there's the third layer. So this soul, it is trapped by this three covering of subtle body, and then that body then takes the residence into a gross body. So then this gross body, this subtle body resides along with the soul. And then when we die, we give up this gross body, but the soul, along with the subtle body, goes to the another gross body. And it starts, is another, it tries to fulfill all his other desires into that another body. I hope it makes sense, or maybe if it is if it is not clear, you can ask me. We can go in more detail.
And that's really great. Thank you so much. That makes a lot of sense. This answered quite a lot of my questions, actually. So thank you.
Not at all. Feel free, Lucy. Anytime, anytime you have any questions, feel free to ask. Or if you want to ask me personally also outside, on the Zoom group, then I'll